Hey guys, welcome. I'm Miroslav. So I've had a lot of people asking me about the Embodied speaking course coming up, and to make things easier, I decided I'll just make a video, especially as there's a lot of people reaching out that are unfamiliar with me and my work. So I'll give you a bit of background about me. I'll give you the big difference between what we've seen in the speaking industry over the last few decades and where the speaking industry is heading, and why you want to be a part of this earlier as opposed to later. Partially because there's no point spending time and money on skills that are kind of becoming outdated. And then I'll share with you a little bit about my course, and if you're interested, how you can go about joining us. So briefly, I've been in the industry of embodied transformation, like it's been my life and passion and path of mastery, specifically of diving in and then how do we bring that to the world for, I don't know, over 10 years now. I've done a TEDx talk. I worked with companies like Lululemon Athletica, training some of their staff. I've facilitated and presented internationally, probably worked with over 5,000 people by now. And you know, when I look at my journey, I'm like, if I saw that, I'd be like, that's pretty cool. That's a decent chunk of experience, Miroslav. But this whole thing for me was never, how can I say this? Like, it never came from a point of me being ambitious or me wanting to be a motivational speaker or wanting to change the world or anything like that. Like throughout my early days, primary school, high school, even like uni days, I was super introverted. Really shy, really small, didn't want to be seen, and even socially, like I would just avoid social interactions if I could. Spent my early years stuttering as well, and I still stutter sometimes when I speak Serbian, my native tongue. So I'm very familiar with what it means to be closed and stuck and afraid of judgment and not want to come out. And my spiritual path, if you want, has been coming from that into being seen and allowing others to see themselves, because that's really the magic of the stage. We are offered the power of standing on a stage and people's attention, so we can give them the gift of discovery, whether that's a new piece of information or insight or a deeper connection to themselves. So really briefly, an overview of the speaking industry. A lot of the skills and techniques up until now have been taught from a bottom-up approach. What I mean by that is people step in and the first thing you write your speech, you memorize your speech, you get out and keep rehearsing your speech. Like this is stuff that I did back in high school, and this is still the way speakers are being taught. And it's like every single speech sounds the same word to word. And it's very, like, if you think of this like a pyramid, so over here you've got this kind of baseline, it's very heavy, very dense, it's memorized. When you get up to present, if that's all you have, it sounds very dry, and people can like feel the heaviness of it. It's got this sense of weight. Now, the more you go up that, when you can really master this, it gets to a point where you're not rehearsing it with your mind, where it just flows out of your body. And that's kind of the next level. And then the top level is when you can kind of drop these bottom two levels. Now here, this is like, okay, like people say, oh, it was an okay presentation. Here, it's like, that's a good speaker. That's a solid speaker. When you get into the top level, that's like, it's magic. Like people leave touched by you in a way they don't even understand. And in this top level is when you let your essence come through. So it's not just about the words anymore. It's like the audience is going to feel touched in a way they don't even understand. That's where real transformation happens. The problem is sometimes you can spend 5, 10, 20 years stuck just in the bottom level, let alone this next level. So it's a very slow process to mastery. And getting this piece is what's going to take something from good to great. The opposite model, which is the one I've come into through my own journey, and what I teach people is, let's start with your essence. Let's start with the magic inside your eyes. Let's look at who you are, and then let's look at bringing that to the stage. Because no matter how many skills or techniques I teach you, unless we have that, like it's all dry speaking. So with this approach, we're looking at who you are and we look at bringing that to the stage. And then your message, your mission, the words, the techniques, they all grow out of that. And you're building a much more solid foundation to build, whether it's a speaking career, whether it's giving a speech at a wedding, whether it's, the group you meditate or do yoga with. It doesn't matter. If you want to live your ability to present and to be comfortable and to be more present in those environments, this is really the dynamic you want to follow. And this sets you up for a lifetime of mastery. I've been living and approaching the stage like this now actively for the last 5 years, and it's been the most transformative thing I've done. And I've kind of covered in the last decade, I've done everything in terms of personal transformation that was offered to me. From, I won't even go there. It's been a crazy wild ride. So that's 2 parts. And if I was just to compare these models, in the first model, usually you have let's call them an expert that's paved this way and that's done this and maybe potentially cracked into the top player, so they are amazing on stage. And then what they do is they teach people what they've done, which means they're teaching people where to stand, how to talk, how to write their speech, the sequence of things, how the joke should sound. And it looks contrived when people get on stage and do that. Like, there's a sense of this isn't really authentic. It's like they're wearing a mask. With this opposite approach, it's like we're starting with you, and there's no way to be inauthentic when you're being yourself. It's like you're starting with the magic and saving yourself years of time and money and practice and average results to get to a point where you're performing really well. In this methodology, when you're starting with the authenticity, you're going to be magic when you come on stage. And then it's about finessing that as we go. So that's a brief overview of the course, of how I work. The calls are more so transmissions. It's not like you're going to sit there with a pencil and a paper. It's like we're going to get you embodying this stuff and feeling in your own body and working the magic of it through your own system. So it's like vulnerability is a part of it, but vulnerability is not even the end goal. Vulnerability is like, the flour in your cooking. It's just something that's going to be a part of it, and it's good fun. Outside of that, I find when people spend time around me, it's like there's a process of transmission or osmosis that happens. So they begin to embody and they begin to speak up and they begin to find power where there was none. And these changes don't just affect their speaking, they affect their whole life. So let's drop in for a moment and just see how this feels. If you close your eyes, take a couple of deeper breaths, let your pelvis relax. And just consider, if you were to step into this course, what would be the biggest challenge stopping you from being more powerful, more present, more engaging on stage? Like, what is it that's between you and your audience? Breathe. What is the relationship between you and your audience right now? If you don't have an audience, imagine an audience of 200 people and you're about to step in front of them. What's in your body? How does it feel? Breathe. Nice. Let's open the eyes. We'll just wave that on, just make a mental note of it. And then consider, if you were to step into this course, and again, just you can close the eyes, drop in. If you could receive one thing that would change your relationship to the audience, what would that be? Breathe. And how would that look? How would it change things when you get up and speak, perhaps even with the same audience? What changes between you and them? Nice. And the only thing I'll add to that is, sometimes it's almost like, you'll become a better speaker as a result of working with me in this program, but that's almost the byproduct. Like, that's the result. The real gold is in recognizing how much other areas of your life begin to change. Like, I've had people do this course and say my relationship to my parents just changed, or I just started making more money in my business, or my sex life just suddenly got better. And it's like, because when we open ourselves to being authentic on stage, we allow so much more life in. And that life has the capacity to break through anything that's been stuck and holding us back and keeping us in old patterns. And it doesn't look like standing in a retreat. It looks like being with life as a way of mastering life, which for me is absolute poetry in motion, as is really good public speaking. So if you're interested in something, I would love to have you there. And I really care about creating speakers that aren't just speaking, but to have a relationship to their message that can touch their audience, and their audience can go away from those seats and actually put into action and live and feel the vibration of that in their own selves. Because that's the only way we're really going to make any kind of difference. Thank you.